All right, I wanted to test her a little bit before I made this video. This is the most fun character in Genshin Impact history, in my opinion. Absolutely so fun. Wow. One of the coolest looking characters in the game by far. I hope they add places for me to use and abuse this unit because that is awesome. Obviously, until they do that, like using her in the open world and clearing some Archon quests is not enough to really make me care long term. But looking at her kit, looking at everything, I don't want to be a downer. Like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but this game is Mario Party Simulator. You don't need all the craziest characters, so don't feel baited into getting her. But if she looks fun, if you want to use her, she does look strong. She is super enjoyable to play. She's got some really cool mechanics, and I will recommend her. I'll start the video with that. I would recommend her if you've got the pulls, if you want to pyro DPS, because damn, I don't know what's more fun than this, at least for me. But let's get into it. I want to talk about free-to-play friendly versus whaling versus how does she work. I want to talk about everything. How do you get infusions? How do you get, her bond of life? How do you get these directive stacks? What does she do? So let's just run through a couple of really basic things. So, my attacks are physical damage. They're not doing pyro damage, but I can make them do pyro damage. If I hit these enemies, if I get them grouped up and I hit them, I have now applied a debuff to all of them. I can attack them, and I'm still doing physical. However, do you see that? Do you see that change? After 5 seconds, she has a passive that makes the mark more powerful. Now, they take a little bit of damage over time for the mark, but the goal here is to consume this with a charged attack. And now, if you look at my HP bar over there, I now have Bond of Life on my account. This is it stops me from being able to heal, but it allows me to now do fire attacks. Now, when I do an attack, it will consume a little bit of that bar. Every time I attack, if you look at the bar, I lose a little bit. Just one bang in these things. So, optimally, if I want to keep doing fire attacks, I need to keep consuming those bonds, or these stacks, or else I will eventually run out. But right now, I've got like a full amount. Alright? I can just slam jam, I can attack. I will never run out of this. I can attack all these enemies, boom, 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 boom. Back to back to back. Until I almost run out, and I'll show you that now. I might kill this thing before I even run out. But around this point, like one more attack, I will lose this ability to do pyro attacks. So the uptime is essentially infinite. Now, if I want to heal, I need to use my ultimate. Alright, so I can use my ultimate, and it will give me a little bit of a heal. Boop, it'll consume that bond of life, and it'll heal me. The thing is I can heal almost my full HP bar every time. So you don't really need a healer if she's on the field all the time doing damage. And I will show you that right now. So if I was to go like this, and I start attacking this, I consume this, I'm attacking, and I would just let some enemies hit me. I can consume this bond of life. Okay? Thing's just burning out. Let me get some more enemies here. Okay, they're gonna attack me. Bond of life is going down. Trucking me. Yeah. Keep hitting me. Let's go. Keep going. Come on. Please, AI. I need to make a video. All right. And then I use my ultimate. Boom. It's gonna be a big, chunky heal. Almost my full HP. Which is amazing. That also does damage to people, but that's cool. Now, the other thing that can happen is, with my ultimate, I can reset the cooldown of my E ability. So, what I can do is I can attack these units. I can consume this. I can ult. I can then mark these units. I can consume it. And now I've gotten a heal off. I've reapplied the bond of life, and I'm doing fire attacks again. So, it's a cooldown reset on your E ability with your ultimate. It will heal you, and then it's allowing you to reapply the debuff and kind of start the rotation again. Now, optimally, if you start looking at her passives, you would want to use her E ability to apply the debuff, and you would lay into them while you have Bond of Life doing fire damage, and then you would consume it. Now, that would be the optimal thing because you get more stacks, you get more value out of that. All right? But for the most part, at least in this test run, because you have so much, energy coming in, you can essentially just kind of spam everything. So this is not going to feel the same as in live, but I don't know, man. She feels pretty cool. She feels pretty strong. She feels like a one-woman army. Now, when you start throwing vapes and things in, that's pretty cool. If you start throwing Bennett in, giving her attack and permanent infusions as well, even if she didn't have Bond of Life, there's some potential there. We have no major resonance going on here, right? We don't have like double. Well, I guess we have double pyro going on, but like there's some things that we could do to juice up her damage, juice up her value. We weren't shredding defenses. We weren't giving us any pyro bonuses from Kazuha or anything like that. No Verdescent set. There's a lot more value we can get, more damage we can get. All right? I think that overall, if you look at her kit, she is one of the best C0 kits in the game for me. The reason why, she actually has 3 passives. Unexpected, but she's got 3 passives. This one here is a pyro damage bonus when she's in combat, but she can only be healed through her ultimate, which is fine. Yes, you might need other people, but you could also consider bringing a shielding unit, and then you just wouldn't have to worry about anything. You wouldn't have to worry about dying at all. She can self-heal herself. Zhongli could be a great option, something like that. But even if you don't need the healing, Bennett would still be a good option overall. So, very, very cool that she's got this passive. She's also got this kind of physical and elemental resistance based on her attack, which is cool. And then this one here is just saying she's granted a Bond of Life worth 130% of her max HP when an opponent that she herself applied a directive to is defeated. So if you use your E ability, you apply the directive. If you then defeat them, even with someone else, she gets Bond of Life. So that means that if you apply this, as long as she applied that, then you can still rotate through everyone else's ultimate, swap back to her, and she's in pyro form ready to rip. That's cracked. Also, 5 seconds after the directive is applied, it changes that color. When absorbed, it will instead grant Bond of Life worth 130%. So all they've done is increase the amount you get. So you don't need to absorb that one. It doesn't really change the damage or anything. It just gives you more Bond of Life. Okay? Now, her normal attack. It's just normal attacks until you scroll down. You have to look down here. When Bond of Life is greater than 30% of her max HP, she'll enter this state, which just means she's infused overall. It says it will consume your Bond of Life to stay infused, essentially. That's all it's really saying here. And then you do extra damage that's scaled off of her attack. So she is an attack scaling unit, but, HP to keep her alive wouldn't be a terrible substat to get. Okay? The other thing, too, when Bond of Life is consumed in this manner, aka you're attacking, all in Ash, cooldown is decreased. So what this means is if you've got a bunch of Bond, and you're infused with fire, and you're attacking, it's also going to reduce the cooldown of getting your E ability from this 30-second cooldown, which is really good. That's a really good passive to have built into her normal attack overall. So that's cracked. Now, with her E ability, it is going to be a 30-second debuff, where every 5 seconds you're doing damage. But honestly, it's like, I don't know why people would keep this up. It also says that you can have 2 instances. So hypothetically, you could hit him with an E, use your Q. If they don't die, hit him with an E again. And now it's ticking down twice. So you're getting some passive damage. And if you've already got Blood Debt, then you've got these things. This is really a bossing passive. This is a bossing thing. If you're shredding through multiple enemies, you probably don't care about this. But if you're fighting a boss and able to apply multiple stacks, this is really cool, in my opinion. Very, very cool. You then can consume it over time and fill up your Bond of Life. Like, it's essentially infinite. Infinite infusion, infinite damage over time, infinite... I don't know. It's crazy. It just doesn't seem like there's any downside to her. Like, there's no clunk. I don't feel like you could play her poorly, in my opinion. Anyways, the damage over time isn't crazy. And even the cleaving damage and the spike damage, whatever that is, like, it's not that crazy. A lot of the damage is going to be in these normal attacks, getting that extra value overall. And then some chunky hits from her burst, getting 600% scaling. that's definitely going to help as well. This is really just consuming those marks as well as her bond of life to do damage and heal. So yeah, it's great. She's super cool. She's super good. Um, I want her. I want her on my account. I think she'd be really cool. I also want to show you a couple weapons, which is sweet. But first, let's just talk about the constellations quick. So number one, as for constellations, C1, I believe it's essentially just giving you 100% more multiplier. Now, it already gives you like 200 and some percent multiplier, so it's definitely a big jump up in damage overall for your normal attacks. Is it necessary? I'm not sure. I would need to test this in some bosses and see like her overall DPS. But it also will increase your resistance to getting knocked around, which is definitely good. You can keep those combos going and kind of just spam attacks while you're in this powered up infused state. So that is strong. It's kind of like, what's his name? Sino? That interrupt can help a lot. You need it, not if you're dodging, and if you're shielding with someone like Zhongli, you probably don't need it as well. So I think there's ways to get around it. As for Constellation 2, when you apply Blood Debt with your E ability, they're just empowered automatically. So that's pretty strong already because it allows you to just have more uptime and more bond of life easier, yada, yada, yada. But then when you absorb them, she unleashes an AoE in front of her for 900% of her attack. That's like crazy. That is like insanely good and increases your elemental resistance and physical res. She seems like an Archon level almost DPS unit. Instead of being a support, she's like, I feel like she's the first like Snezhnaya Archon DPS. And maybe I'm crazy here. Maybe the math is, maybe I'm completely off, but this seems dumb. I would like to test this out and see how big that AoE is. I'd like to whale out and check it out, but at the same time, like, do I recommend you whale out? There's nowhere that you need this, so just probably don't. Just go Hyperbloom everything like you always have. But it's cool. And then anything beyond that is just like whale territory. It's some cooldown stuff and then some extra damage multiplier with the Bond of Life stuff. Don't ever C6 any unit. Don't ever do that. If you saved up free to play for a year, do whatever you want. But don't spend money doing this stuff. Also gives you elemental burst, crit rate, and crit damage, and it's busted. It has to be. Every C6 is busted. But I think it's C0. This is one of the most fun units I've seen. One of the coolest units I've seen. Seems pretty powerful to me. And I want her. On top of that, I want to talk about the weapon. The weapon is so niche. So if you're not getting her, it's a terrible weapon. There's literally no function because it only applies with Bond of Life. So do not get this for anyone in any circumstance at any time. Okay? It is super effective for her. It is a very, very powerful thing. But there's one thing that I want to show you here. I'm going to just leave this domain. I'm going to show you my weapon that I've got. I think there's actually a couple weapons that you could use and some pretty free-to-play options as well. That will be cracked. So let's go into my bag. Let's look at my weapons. Primordial Jadewing Spear, giving her crit rate cracked as well, but increases your attack and then gives you a damage multiplier when you have full stacks. She's on the field dishing damage all the time. AoE hitting stuff. You're going to be able to stack this up so fast. It's nuts. It's like 100% uptime. It's going to be cracked on her. And it's a free-to-play option. I mean, you could get lucky. You could get unlucky. I've got a couple copies. Super, super good. I want to use this on her. Personally, I want to test that out. But another thing is, like, Staff of Homa, I know that this is crit damage. But this gives you a 20% HP increase. But provides an attack bonus based on your HP. And then, when your HP is less than 50%, the attack bonus is increased even more by 1% of your max HP. That's insanity. She's gonna lose HP, right? You could teeter on the edge there. There's major potential for Staff of Homa as well. If you've got either one, I think you're chilling. I think you're vibing. I'm very excited. Another thing, which is you could consider it. It's probably not the best, but you could consider it. Skyward Spine gives you a little bit of crit rate and normal attack speed, which is kind of cool. Also, you have this vacuum thing. maybe it's a viable option. It's not maybe not the best option, but it's viable. I don't mind it. But I personally would be holding out. Like, if you don't have one of these ones, I mean, I don't know if I'd be getting her unless you're going for her weapon as well. I feel like there's not a lot of great DPS options for Fears overall. Like technically, you could use something like this um, because the Elemental Mastery and like you technically Dragon's Bane is pretty good. Like if you got a maxed out one, it is a lot of damage. I don't know. I just like using 5-star weapons. It just feels cooler to me. I like the crit rate and stuff, but Arlecchino's crazy, man. I'm very interested. I would consider saving up and trying to get her, but right now I'm in a bit of a pickle. I don't have any pulls. Got no pulls, and I don't have much pity. Guarantee. Guarantee. Got a new region. The only issue is I'm gonna be upfront with you. I don't want to run around an open chest to get her. I just don't. I I think she's so cool, and it hurts me to say that. I want to use her. I want to build her. I want to be like, oh my god. But I just know that I'll be unsatisfied as soon as I do it. They add more content. I'm sure that changes things. But until it's here, I can't do it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.